Agatha Christie, and then there were none. I'm just gonna read chapter 10. I am so tired. And I'm also struggling to open this book. Do you believe it? Vera asked. She and Philip Lombard sat on the windowsill of the living room. Outside the rain poured down, and the wind howled in great shuddering gusts against the window panes. Philip Lombard cocked his head slightly. On one side before answering. Then he said, You mean, do I believe that old Wargrave is right when he says it's one of us? Yes, Philip Lombard said slowly. It's difficult to say logically. You know, he's right, and yet... Vera took the words out of his mouth. And yet it seems so incredible. Philip Lombard made a grimace. The whole thing's incredible, but after MacArthur's death, there's no more doubt as to one thing. There's no question now of accidents or suicides. It's definitely murder. 3 murders up to date. Vera shivered, she said. It's like some awful dream. I keep feeling that things like this can't happen, he said with understanding. I know. Presently a tap will come on the door, and early morning tea will be brought in. Vera said, Oh, how I wish that could happen. Philip Lombard said gravely, Yes, but it won't. We're all in the dream, and we've got to be pretty much upon our guard from now on. Vera said, lowering her voice, If it is one of them, which do you think it is? Philip Lombard grinned suddenly. He said, I take it you are accepting our 2 selves. Well, that's all right. I know very well that I'm not the murderer, and I don't fancy that there's anything insane about you, Vera. You strike me as being one of the sanest and most level-headed girls I've come across. I'd stake my reputation on your sanity. With a slightly wry smile, Vera said, Thank you. He said, Come now, Miss Vera Claythorne, aren't you going to return the compliment? Vera hesitated. I'm struggling not to fall asleep. Good story. I'm not saying the story's boring. I'm just saying I'm so fucking exhausted. Just want to go to bed. I'm so tired, but I want to read some of this story. I want to finish it. But I don't have anywhere near that energy. I'm gonna hop in bed after this. Listen some ASMR. You know what? At some point, I think I'll buy Elden Ring. And I'll either play it later today or tomorrow a bit before work. I'm so tired. No energy. Drink some 7-Up. Vera hesitated a minute, then she said, You've admitted, you know, that you don't hold human life particularly sacred. But all the same, I can't see you as the man who dictated that gramophone record. Lombard said, Quite right. If I were to commit 1 or more murders, it would be solely for what I could get out of them. This mass clearance isn't my line of country. Good. Then we'll eliminate ourselves and concentrate on our 5 fellow prisoners. Which of them is you in Owen? Well, at a guess, and with absolutely nothing to go upon, I'd plump for Wargrave. Oh, Vera sounded surprised. She thought a minute or two and then said, why? Hard to say exactly, but to begin with, he's an old man, and he's been presiding over courts of law for years. That is to say, he's played God Almighty for a good many months every year. That must go to a man's head eventually. He gets to see himself as all-powerful, as holding the power of life and death. And it's possible that his brain might snap and he might want to go one step farther and be the executioner and judge extraordinary. Extraordinary. Vera said slowly, yes, I suppose that's possible. Lombard said, who do you plump for? Without any hesitation, Vera answered Dr. Armstrong. Lombard gave a low whistle. The doctor, eh? You know, I should have put him last of all. Vera shook her head. Oh no, 2 of the deaths have been poison. That rather points to a doctor. And then you can't get over the fact that the only thing we are absolutely certain Mrs. Rogers had was the sleeping draught that he gave her. Lombard admitted, yes, that's true. Vera persisted. If a doctor went mad, it would be a long time before anyone suspected. And doctors overwork and have a lot of strain. Philip Lombard said, yes, but I doubt if he could have killed MacArthur. He wouldn't have had time during that brief interval when I left him. Not, that is, unless he fairly hared down there and back again. And I doubt if he's in good enough training to do that and show no signs of it. Vera said he didn't do it then. He had an opportunity later, when he went down to call the general to lunch. Philip whistled again very softly. He said, so you think he did it then? Pretty cool thing to do. Vera said impatiently. What risk was there? He's the only person here with medical knowledge. He can swear the body's been dead at least an hour, and who's to contradict him? Philip looked at her thoughtfully. You know, he said, that's a clever idea of yours. I wonder, who is it, Mr. Bloor? That's what I want to know. Who is it? Roger's face was working. His hands were clenched round the polishing leather that he held in his hand. Ex-Inspector Bloor said, my lad, that's the question. One of us is lordship said. Which one? That's what I want to know. Who's the fiend in human form? That, said Bloor, is what we all would like to know. Rogers said shrewdly, but you've got an idea, Mr. Bloor. You've got an idea, haven't you? I may have an idea, said Bloor slowly, but that's a long way from being sure. I may be wrong. All I can say is that if I'm right, the person in question is a very cool customer indeed. Rogers wiped the trying to stay awake. Perspiration from his forehead. He said hoarsely, we're just going to be louder. That'll keep me out of breath. It's like a bad dream. That's what it is, Bloor said, looking at him curiously. Got any ideas yourself, Rogers? The butler shook his head. He said hoarsely, I don't know at all, and that's what's frightening the life out of me, to have no idea. Okay, I'm going to try to focus so I can talk coherently. Dr. Armstrong said violently, We must get out of here. We must at all costs. Mr. Justice Wargrave looked thoughtfully out of the smoking room window. He played with the cord of his eyeglasses. He said, I do not, of course, profess to be a weather prophet. Why does the word meteorologist does not exist at this point? Mr. Weatherman, weather foreseer. But I should say that it is very unlikely that a boat could reach us, even if they knew of our plight in under 24 hours, and even then, only if the wind drops. Dr. Armstrong dropped his head in his hands and groaned. He said, and in the meantime we may all be murdered in our beds. I hope not, said Mr. Justice Wargrave. I intend to take every possible precaution against such a thing happening. It flashed across Dr. Armstrong's mind that an old man like the judge was far more tenacious of life than a younger man would be. He had often marveled at that fact in his professional career. Here was he, junior to the judge by perhaps 20 years, and yet with a vastly inferior sense of self-preservation. Mr. Justice Wargrave was thinking, murdered in our beds. These doctors are all the same. They think in cliches. A thoroughly commonplace mind. The doctor said, there have been 3 victims already, remember? Certainly, but you must remember that they were unprepared for the attack. We are forewarned. Dr. Armstrong said bitterly, what can we do? Sooner or later, I think, said Mr. Justice Wargrave, that there are several things we can do. Armstrong said, we've no idea even who it can be. The judge stroked his chin and murmured, oh, you know, I wouldn't quite say that. Dr. Armstrong stared at him. Do you mean you know? You know what? I haven't tried the Arch Burger thing from McDonald's. Maybe at some point I'll try it. Not right now, because I'm about to fucking pass out, and I'm pretty sure if I tried to drive to a McDonald's right now, I'd fall asleep at the wheel and crash into people. And that would not be good for anyone. I honestly don't know why I'm so fucking tired. Mr. Justice Wargrave said cautiously, as regards actual evidence, such as is necessary in court, I admit that I have none, but it appears to me, reviewing the whole business, that one particular person is sufficiently clearly indicated. Yes, I think so. Armstrong stared at him. He said, I don't understand. Miss Brent was upstairs in her bedroom. She took up her Bible and went to sit by the window. She opened it, then after a minute's hesitation she set it aside and went over to the dressing table. From a drawer in it she took out a small black-covered notebook. She opened it and began writing. A terrible thing has happened. Joe MacArthur is dead. His cousin married Elise Macpherson. There is no doubt but that he was murdered after luncheon. The judge made us a most interesting speech. He is convinced that the murderer is one of us. That means that one of us is possessed by a devil. I had already suspected that. Which of us is it? They are all asking themselves that. I alone know. She sat for some time without moving. Her eyes grew vague and filmy. The pencils straggled drunkenly in her fingers. In shaking loose capitals, she wrote, the murderer's name is Beatrice Taylor. Her eyes closed. Suddenly, with a start, she awoke. She looked down at the notebook with an angry exclamation. She scored through the vague, unevenly scrawled letters of the last sentence. She said, in a low voice, did I write that? Did I? I must be going mad. The storm increased. The wind howled against the side of the house. Everyone was in the living room. They sat listlessly huddled together, and surreptitiously they watched each other. When Rogers brought in the tea tray, what kind of tea is it? I would say hopefully it's caffeinated tea, but I need to go to bed, so there's no need to keep myself awake. I just want to read some of the book. I'm so fucking tired. They all jumped. He said, what kind of tea is good, guys? My face was itchy. Shall I draw the curtains? It would make it more cheerful, like receiving an assent to this. The curtains were drawn and the lamps turned on. The room grew more cheerful. A little of the shadow lifted. Surely by tomorrow the storm would be over and someone would come. A boat would arrive. Vera Claythorne said, "Will you pour our tea, Miss Brent?" The older woman replied, "No, you do it, dear. The teapot is so heavy, and I have lost 2 skeins of my gray knitting wool. So annoying. I don't even know what a skein is. Skeins. I'm not looking it up. I don't give a fuck. Vera moved to the tea table. There was a cheerful rattle and clink of china. Normality returned. Tea! Bless ordinary everyday afternoon tea. Philip Lombard made a cheery remark. Bloor responded. Dr. Armstrong told a humorous story. Mr. Justice Wargrave, who ordinarily hated tea, sipped approvingly. Into this relaxed atmosphere came Rogers. "Hello, my name is Roger." I'm going to put a thing in the description. And Rogers was upset. He said nervously and at random, "Excuse me, sir, but does anyone know what's become of the bathroom curtain?" What do you mean? Lombard's head went up with a jerk. "The bathroom curtain? What the devil do you mean, Rogers?" "It's gone, sir. Clean vanished. I was going round drawing all the curtains, and the one in the bathroom? You're going to say lavatory? Latoria! Wasn't there any longer." Mr. Justice Wargrave asked, "Was it there this morning?" "Oh, yes, sir." Bloor said, "What kind of a curtain was it?" "Scarlet oil silk? What the fuck is that?" "I assume it's waterproof because it's in a bathroom." "It went with the scarlet tiles? Like linoleum? Like marble? Like what were we..." Lombard said, "And it's gone." "Gone, sir." They stared at each other. Bloor said heavily, "Well, after all, what of it? It's mad, but so's everything else. Anyway, it doesn't matter. You can't kill anybody with an oil silk curtain. Forget about it." Roger said, "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir." He went out, shutting the door behind him. Inside the room, the pall of fear had fallen anew. Again, surreptitiously, they watched each other. Dinner came, was eaten, and cleared away. A simple meal, mostly out of tins. Afterward, in the living room, the strain was almost too great to be borne. At 9 o'clock, Emily Brent rose to her feet. She said, "I'm going to bed." Vera said, "I'll go to bed too." The 2 women went up to the stairs, and Lombard and Bloor came with them. Standing at the top of the stairs, the 2 men watched the women go into their respective rooms and shut the doors. They heard the sound of 2 bolts being shot and the turning of 2 keys. Bloor said with a grin, "No need to tell them to lock their doors." Lombard said, "Well, they're all right for the night at any rate." He went down again, and the other followed him. The 4 men went to bed an hour later. They went up together. That Rogers, from the dining room where he was setting the table for breakfast, saw them go up. He heard them pause on the landing above them. The judge's voice spoke. "I need hardly advise you, gentlemen, to lock your doors." Bloor said, "And what's more, put a chain under the handle. There are ways of turning locks from the outside." Lombard murmured, "My dear Bloor, the trouble with you is you know too much." The judge said gravely, "Good night, gentlemen. May we all meet safely in the morning." Rogers came out of the dining room and slipped halfway up the stairs. He saw 4 figures pass through the 4 doors and heard the turning of 4 locks and the shooting of 4 bolts. He nodded his head. "That's all right," he muttered. He went back into the dining room. Yes, everything was ready for the morning. His eye lingered on the center plaque of looking glass and the 7 little china figures. A sudden grin transformed his face. He murmured, "I'll see no one plays tricks tonight at any rate." Crossing the room, he locked the door to the pantry. Then going through the other door to the hall, he pulled the door to and locked it and slipped the key into his pocket. Then, extinguishing the lights, he hurried up the stairs and into his new bedroom. There was only one possible hiding place in it, the tall wardrobe, and he looked into that immediately. Then, locking and bolting the door, he prepared for bed. He said to himself, "No more China soldier tricks tonight. I've seen to that." Okay, that's it for Chapter 10. This has been Lunar D8 barely reads something coherently while super sleepy and trying not to pass out. It's a new viral challenge, guys. Make sure you're all sleeping well. I probably should make sure to get to bed early. I've stayed up a bit late the past few days. And, well, I've been working really hard at work. It's manual labor. Granted, I always push myself a bit hard, but I've been kind of pushing it a bit harder than I probably should. I'm just exhausted. And I'm fucking sore. I'm so fucking tired. Anyway,